Wednesday evening, you'll have heard that the recording in progress message has just gone live, so you know that this is being recorded. You should be able to hear me. If you can't, then please just check your connections, and if you need to, pop a little question into the chat if you've got a problem. Make sure your chat is set to everyone, as you can see on the screen there. And also, just while I'm chatting, just to test that your chat is set to everyone, I'm going to ask you a quick question. And basically, what has been your favorite moment of the World Cup so far? So this World Cup, what has been your favorite moment? And if you can't think of anything, don't worry. But if you've got anything that you can think of, certainly for me, seeing Ebenezer's feet go up in the air when James Lowe tackled him was a pretty good one. Mark, I can see Wales versus Fiji. Giles drinking in Nice. We're jealous already. Tim, Wales beating Australia. Yes, I think that was quite an outstanding one. So just pop them all in there. Anything you like in terms of what's your favourite moment up to now. And as I've just said, that's what we want you to sort of let us a little know about. Sounds like some of you have been out and to France already, which is amazing. Very, very jealous. Scream with envy on that. Goodness me, Glenn, you are a lucky man. So just a quick one in terms of the views. Depending on the type of device you're watching on, whether it's a screen or a tablet or a phone, they do show in slightly different ways. And we've got some polls tonight, so they can often come up on another screen. And until you close them, they'll sort of stay there. But you should be able to see, despite the type of device you're viewing on. Live transcript, sometimes known as captions, is on. You can turn that on and off. It's up to you. Some people like to have it on. Some people obviously need to have it on, but it's completely up to you. But you'll see that on the screen in terms of your options you can choose. Webinar has been recorded, and we will share the link to the recording afterwards. And so, moving on to the important thing. My name is Martin Woodward. I am Club Business Manager here at the RFU, working in the club team in rugby development. Delighted to be hosting this tonight. I won't be your main speaker. I'm just sort of doing the top and tailing and a little bit of hosting. In the background is my colleague Alex Thompson, who's behind the scenes. He'll be monitoring the chat. And also Barry, why can you see Scott Partington? The reason why you can see Scott Partington is Scott is going to be presenting to you later, Barry. So that answers that one. But just to give you a flavour, tonight is around how we can support clubs. You're all feeling the pinch. We're all feeling the pinch, not just rugby clubs, but in our own personal lives and businesses and so on. And so tonight is about a piece of work that we're working on to help you and basically give you some support across a number of different areas around procurement. So I'm not going to steal too much thunder, but the person who will be taking you through that will be Scott. Scott Partington, who's a director from Golf Management Group. You might be thinking, golf? Yes, it is Golf Management Group. And Scott will tell you how the company started and therefore that their name evolved. He's joining us this evening to tell you all about a new service to support rugby clubs. Scott has done some work with us with a few clubs already, and he'll touch on that and some of the savings he's made for clubs. But we're delighted that he can join us tonight and talk to you in more detail. So there'll be a few polls this evening. Love you to get involved now. Just literally click on the options. It's always helpful to sort of gather a little bit of information, see what you guys think. Alex and I use a phrase of light up the chat. If you've got any questions, what I would say is there's a Q&A at the end of the session, but if you've got a question and you want to write it down at that point in time and not wait until the Q&A, pop it in the chat. We'll go back to it. Alex and myself will have a look at that. So please put any sort of questions you think of, and we'll cover those. And we'll also send a follow-up email after tonight with the slides, a link to the new website, which Scott will talk about, and a recording of the webinar. So that's enough from me. I'm going to stop sharing. And Scott, it's going to be over to you. So Scott, while you get yourself sorted, over to you.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, we can see you and you're away.
Super. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for giving up some of your Wednesday evening to listen to me, and hopefully you'll find the short presentation I have for you beneficial, interesting, and it'll benefit your clubs going forward. Please bear with me. I'm having to multitask, so I'm having to speak and also navigate around the presentation. So if it's not quite in sort of timing, then please just forgive me for that. The purpose of the webinar really this evening is just to provide you with some background around the RFU buying group, obviously get some feedback from you guys on the ground, and also answer any questions before we go live in the next few days. So how did this all kind of start? How did this begin? So we started talking to the RFU about 12 months ago about potential collaboration and extending our services we offer to golf clubs, extending them over to rugby clubs as well. And we're very proud to be involved with such a prestigious organisation. And the early results have been very positive. So we had a benchmarking exercise with a selected number of clubs in the southeast of England. We looked at refuse collection and washroom services, and that pilot scheme really went very successfully, very well received, and some significant savings were demonstrated. So on the back of that, we carried on talking, and here we are today, ready to launch the RFU buying group. I'd like to provide you with a little bit of background around Golf Management Group, GMG, who we are, who I am, and how we've kind of come to this point today. So Golf Management Group was started in 2010. I was managing 2 golf courses in the northwest of England, thought there was potential for clubs to pool their resources, invited a number of clubs to join my small consortium, and then obviously there was quite a lot of interest in that. We increased leverage in our buying by obviously increasing the clubs in the group, and quite quickly we moved to 100 golf clubs within the consortium. So on the back of that, then we kind of launched Golf Management Group, and now we work with hundreds of golf clubs throughout the UK. We are the official buying group of all the national governing bodies, which gives us a great amount of credibility and kudos. Scottish Golf, England Golf, and Wales Golf. And as I say, work with clubs of varying size and stature all across the UK. 2019, the LTA approached us and asked us, could we extend our services to all their affiliated tennis clubs, which was obviously a little bit unfortunate in regards to timing, because it was just kind of a month before the COVID situation hit. So that had a bit of a slow start, but I'm pleased to say that that's gathering momentum month by month, and now we're working with about 350 tennis clubs to add to our kind of golf estate. The benefits of the affiliation with the governing bodies for our clubs is that normally we would charge an annual membership fee of £149, but thanks to the affiliation with the governing bodies, our services are totally complimentary to all of the golf and tennis clubs that we work with, and we're also extending that to English Rugby Union affiliated clubs. So there is no cost at all to our service for the clubs. We work on quite a simple mission statement, really. I mean, we are trying to harness the collective purchasing power of all our membership to reduce costs without ever compromising on quality or service. Okay, what is a buying group? I'm sure you're all familiar with the concept of buying groups. It's really all about the economies of scale. I mean, we've reached a significant point already, but we're building and building, and we're really excited about adding rugby to our portfolio. The buying groups not only control cost and reduce costs, but also encourages a constant review of your current procurement arrangements, which is obviously good practice when you're looking for best value in certain cost centres. The buying group also provides access to our internal teams who can on hand for you guys to provide advice and support in their area of expertise, whether that be energy, food and beverage, or renewables. How does it apply to rugby clubs? Very simply, you can imagine the synergy between the golf, the tennis and the rugby. So we're really pleased to roll out the services right across the board. That's our main principal objective, to reduce costs for you guys. We have preferred terms in a number of different cost centres. It's fair to say that we've kind of streamlined our services. So when we came to market, we were all things to all people, and it was more like a kind of directory of services. We found out fairly quickly that that was quite difficult to manage, and golf club secretaries or managers of clubs found it difficult to know which centres to concentrate on. So we stripped back to the core areas of expenditure, pretty much in the clubhouse, and brought in experts in those fields. So we have a list online here now of some of the cost centres that we cover. However, this is not an exhaustive list. And if you access the website, you'll see a number of additional areas where we can hopefully make you some savings. Added to this, we obviously wanted to complement the current commercial deals that are in place, which the RFU have already negotiated on their website. So via the RFU buying group, you can access deals on I think, floodlights, pitch maintenance, etc. And we hope, as we move forward and learn a little bit more about the kind of nuances of the rugby clubs and the requirements that you guys have, we hope we can add to that portfolio of suppliers and services, so it's more rugby specific. Okay, I alluded earlier on to a pilot that we ran in the southeast of England. So these are some of the clubs that undertook the benchmarking exercise for us. I mean, we concentrated on kind of really objective areas of expenditure. So we just looked at refuse collection and washroom services. On the screen there, you can see some of the savings that we demonstrated for clubs, and clubs are enjoying now. I mean, quite significant in terms of percentage of their budget and also monetary sums as well. Excuse me. Now, thanks to the sort of real strong relationship we have with our suppliers, a number of these clubs did not even have to change their service provider. So because we already had national terms with that service provider, then the club just simply switched to our national price file, even if they were still in their existing term with the provider, and enjoyed the savings immediately. So that was a real positive exercise and experience for the clubs. And hopefully some of you guys can take advantage of this further down the line. Over to you guys at the RFU for our first poll.
Okay, thank you, Scott. What should have popped up on your screen now is our first poll that asks you the question: what is the total savings achieved across golf and tennis clubs over the past 12 months using the golf management group? What are the total savings achieved? What do you think it is? Add it in there. If you can't see it for any reason, I say the question is, what is the total savings achieved across golf and tennis clubs over the past 12 months using the golf management group? If you can't see it, put your answer in the chat for us. So I can see most people coming through now, accessing that poll, which is brilliant. Most of you are there. I'm just going to give that final bit of time for the last ones to come in. So I think we've got the answers there. I'm going to end that poll and I'll share those results with you. So the majority of you, 43%, are going for a big figure. So Scott, which one is it, mate?
You're quite right. The majority is correct. Just over £1.2 million to date in the last 12 months. So yeah, well done. Ask the audience, we got that one right. Thank you for taking part in that. And you can see it's not only about cost savings. Obviously, with the cost of energy just spiraling absolutely crazy, you know, sometimes it won't be an actual saving, but we'll just mitigate the cost increase going forward. So we're just moving on to our supply chain. I mean, we pride ourselves on the strength of the partnership we have with our suppliers. Our reputation depends on it, really. We're only ever as good as our supply chain. Our thorough due diligence process when selecting suppliers looks at a number of different areas, such as affiliations, trade associations, codes of practice, testimonials and reviews, and also financial checks on the companies that we work with. We also look to review our supply chain on an ongoing basis, and hopefully you'll see some familiar suppliers on the screen there now, which perhaps, you know, maybe you could enjoy our national price files without having to switch provider. Excuse me. So our members really enjoy not just the cost savings. One of the big areas for clubs is the time efficiencies that they enjoy, as well as the financial benefits of joining the group. You know, whether it's a very busy club, they have a general manager on board there who is looking to make, you know, significant financial savings, and hasn't got time to look at number of different options on certain cost centres, or the smaller clubs who have, you know, an honorary secretary, honorary manager in charge, who just simply don't have the time to explore all of the options. So we've done all the legwork for the clubs, so you can be confident that we are securing you the best terms possible in that area. A couple of testimonies on screen from the pilot in the southeast. I'll give you a moment just to read through those. Excuse me. So I thought I'd include the next slide. It's a little bit out of kind of sync with what we would normally do, but it just provides you with an example of our wide customer base and some significant success stories that we've had via our utility club service. So we've recently assisted with 2 exciting green tech projects. One was a 250 kilowatt solar installation at Ping Europe, golf manufacturer. And the other was a fleet of electric vehicle charging stations for the National Tennis Centre. So the Energy Club, Utility Club, is a big part of our service. We're quite excited about introducing a new service to this via a company called Zeller, who provide a platform for managing your sustainability journey. So it's a fantastic piece of software, helps you measure and reduce your carbon emissions, and also reduce consumption and obviously therefore costs. It's something that we've subscribed to as a business, and it's made a big impact already, not just on the carbon emissions, but again on the consumption. And thanks to the RFU buying group, we've negotiated preferred subscription terms for all RFU affiliated clubs on that service. Alex, over to you, sir.
So we've got a bit of a poll here just to get a bit more thoughts of what you actually do around this. So it's around how do you currently purchase your food and beverage consumables? Do you use that cash and carry? Is it a supermarket? Is it a combination of the two, delivered by a supplier? If you're not sure, it's absolutely fine. If it's something different, then please do let us know in the chat. So how do you currently purchase your food and beverage consumables? Let us know. You can see a lot of them have come in there. This is one area that is being looked at the moment, and potentially how we could support clubs. So it'd be good to get your feedback. And I can see most have come in now, so I'm just going to fix there. And thanks, Bruce. A mixture of all three. Yeah, if you can't quite see it, do let us know extra stuff into the chat. So I'm going to finish that poll now, and I'll share those results with you so you can see what other clubs are putting in there as well. But actually, you know, the biggest one is delivered by supplier, and then a combination of the first two, cash and carry and supermarket, Scott.
Excellent. I mean, they're quite an interesting poll, really, because as I alluded to earlier on, we're always trying to evolve our service, and we're currently in negotiations with the biggest food procurement organisation in the world. I mean, they're responsible for over £150 million worth of procurement on catering items just in this country alone. And we're looking to develop an online marketplace for our members. So effectively, you'll be able to do a kind of supermarket shop online at just amazing competitive prices. So, I mean, that's a work in progress. We've been talking to the company for quite a while now. We've done a number of benchmarking sort of case studies, some significant savings. So hopefully that, you know, the guys that are certainly being delivered by suppliers, I'm sure there'll be some real good savings, not just on cost wise, but time efficiencies as well via the online marketplace. And hopefully that will go live in the next month or two. Okay, so I'm just going to run through now the process, the membership journey, for want of a better phrase, really. Very simple process. You will visit the website, and there's a registration form on the website. I'll have a screenshot of that to show you later on. Once you've registered your club, then you will receive an email, which will be just a brief overview of the service and then an idea of the next steps, so you can start enjoying making savings fairly quickly. You provide us with invoices for benchmarking in the categories that you wish to review. We confidentially benchmark those invoices against our national price files, and then we present them back to you guys with the saving and any other additional benefits outside of the saving. We will then help you migrate to the supplier. So, you know, via letter of authority, we can terminate your service with your current supplier. We will ensure your service with the new supplier coincides with that, so as you receive a seamless transfer. One thing I would like to just mention at this stage is that there's quite a lot of goodwill when we undertake the benchmarking at the outset. We are really expecting that if we undertake a benchmarking exercise for you in a category and highlight a significant saving, that you migrate to that supplier. Two reasons for that. I mean, one, that's how we receive our revenue. We're a commercial organisation. So if you switch to that supplier, we receive a small residual rebate back from the supplier. However, you receive 100% of the savings that we highlight. The other reason really is that it benefits the whole of the group. So, you know, the more sort of expenditure we can put through these suppliers just improves the leverage further down the line to negotiate more powerful pricing for the members. When we started this this journey 12 years ago, 14 years ago, whatever it is now, we found a number of clubs would just ask us in to undertake a benchmarking exercise, and then they would use that information, present it back to the incumbent supplier for that incumbent supplier to match the pricing. Quite short term, really, because that supplier over the next 2 or 3 years will look to claw back that margin. Whereas via the RFU buying group, if you migrate to that supplier, that pricing will just get stronger and stronger year on year. So I thought maybe a good idea just to give you a look and a feel of the website. This will be live in the next few days, so you can have a look around the website and get a little bit more information. Hopefully I can access the site. So here we go. Hopefully you can all see this. So this is the look of the site. A little bit more information about the benefits of the club, the cost centres that we concentrate on, and then the registration form. If we hit on procurement service, so that just gives you an example of some of the categories that we are looking to help with. Okay. So moving on to another service, which is all part of the RFU buying group. Excuse me. So about probably 5 or 6 years ago, we launched a piece of software called Contracts Manager. And this is an online, like an online filing cabinet where you can store all of your service and utility contracts and invoices. It's a fantastic piece of kit. We've got over 500 clubs using this system. It's totally complimentary, again, via the RFU buying group. I have a short video which I'd like to play you now, which will provide you with more of an overview of this system. unfortunately, having a few technical issues. We'll try again. Just one moment. If you can just give me 1 moment, I will do my best just to remedy this. I think if I... Hopefully I can play this video for you.
While Scott's just doing that, it's worth waiting for. And there's a little trivia question for if he can get the video playing, as to pop in the chat who the presenter is, going back to days of Grandstand, or well, I think it was Grandstand. He was a presenter in, maybe in World of Sport.
I think we'll be okay here, hopefully, if we can just get back to
Scott,
these.
while you carry on with that,
Yeah.
I'll just launch the poll that we're going to do on the following one, so people can get in on this one. So we've got another poll that was due after that video, just while Scott's getting it up and ready. So I'm launching that with you now. So yeah, let us know, how does your club currently manage its various contracts as Scott gets that video ready? Is it a person at the club keeps hard copies? Is it a few people at the club that hold hard copies? Is it stored in a filing cabinet? Not sure, or other? And put details as kind of like on, or it might have thought about yourself, oh, where are those contracts? So let us know that, just while Scott just deals with a bit of the tech. I can see most have come in and say it's absolutely fine if it's not ready, and I can see there you managed to get it going, and once it is, I will stop this poll. So generally via email. Some good points and some extra stuff in the chat. Thanks very much. I'll end that poll now, and I'll share the results after the video.
Contracts Manager has been developed to help you review your day-to-day service and utility contracts, making sure you don't miss an end date and run into those expensive extended terms, which unfortunately happens all too often. This simple, secure portal will become your cloud-based filing cabinet, enabling you to review all existing contracts and, importantly, alerting you to all impending contract renewal dates. Here's how it works. Once registered, choose the category relating to the contract you wish to add to your portal. Complete the information template ensuring you add the start and end date of that contract, but most importantly, the notice period required should you wish to terminate service. By clicking Yes, you'll receive automatic notification by email as the contract draws towards a critical point, reminding you that action needs to be taken. Once you have submitted the information, you will arrive at the Document Archive screen, where you can drag and drop key information such as the contract itself, latest invoices, or any other important documentation. This information is now securely stored and easily accessible should you wish to contact the service provider or access stored documents. A simple red, amber, green system indicates time remaining to the critical point of each contract, giving you visibility of where you're up to at any point in time. There's no limit to the number of contracts you store on your Contracts Manager portal, making this a thing of the past, whilst creating a more organized, streamlined operation. We're happy to offer you a remote demonstration of the system, allowing you to maximize all the benefits available and get the portal up and running as soon as possible. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to hearing from you.
So that was Contracts Manager. You can access that via the website when we eventually go live. Poll 3, Alex has kindly done that one already. Pal, have you got the results? Poll 3, Alex?
Yeah, I'll put them up for you. So I've shared them with you now, and the one that's come out the most is a person at the club keeps hard copies, and then there's quite a lot of other, which, you know, some interesting things in the chat there that can all have a look at. But it does sound like Contracts Manager would be very useful for a lot of people. Thanks very much, Scott.
Thank you, Alex. So we're nearly at the close now of my short presentation, really just a conclusion on some of the main factors really that we've talked about. Whoopsie daisy. We're really excited to get involved with rugby clubs. We've seen some significant savings in our pilot today, and we're looking forward to working with clubs up and down the country, learning a little bit more about, you know, your requirements, your needs, and shaping our service so it's more kind of rugby centric. So the next steps, you will receive an introduction email from the RFU informing you of the launch of this new service and when the website is live. It'll have a brief overview of the presentation today and the service, and also a link to the website where you will find a registration form like this. Simply pop in your details, registration form, that will come to us, and then you'll receive a kind of next steps email from our member services team. You know, there's no hard sell with this service. We're here for you. We'll move at your pace. If you want to look at one cost center, we'll look at one cost center. If you want to review a number, then we're happy to do that. We're working with you at your pace. Now, the other item I'd like to mention is that obviously when we launched the pilot in the Southeast, we guaranteed savings to clubs across the combined areas of waste and washroom. And we want to ensure that all RFU clubs have that benefit and have that opportunity. So part of the welcome email will be a link to this offer, which is just an e-shot, whereby via the QR code on the e-shot, you can load invoice. So you'll just take a picture of the invoice of your waste and your washroom, load it onto the form, that will come to us, and then we'll do that exercise and report back the saving, but we will guarantee savings across that combined cost centre. So for me, that is everything. Thanks very much for listening to me. I hope you found it interesting. I'll be interested to answer any questions that you have. Yeah, so I will just stop sharing my screen.
Thanks, Scott. That's super. There's a few questions started to appear in the chat, which I will go through. Your presentation is down, Scott, but I can still see your screen. If you just come off stop sharing at the top.
Yeah, I'm trying. One moment.
You can tell it's the first webinar we've all done this season. We're all a bit rusty. And as Alex mentioned, just please do pop the questions into the chat and we'll try and get through them as quickly as we can. Alex is also on hand in case I miss any. If I begin with, let me just have a little look. I'm just going back to...
Stop sharing, is that okay?
Yeah, we're good, Scott. We're good. So there's one from Giles, which I'll answer this one. I'll read it out to you, Scott. So do Golf Management Group get involved in kit supply? Probably one of the biggest cost centers on an annual basis. Giles, it's not something that we do, knowing that clubs have a variety of different kit suppliers, whether they be companies like Canterbury, VX3, BLK, all those various different ones. It's something, you know, if there's an area that we can explore, we'll always talk to Scott. Scott will give us his candid view on it. And as Scott said, they tried to be sort of lots of services to begin with, and actually found out they couldn't really sort of nail it down, because obviously the beauty of what they do as a purchasing alliance is the larger they are, the better they are, and therefore those services which would apply to golf and tennis and rugby clubs consistently are the ones where we can get the strongest margins. But it's something that we're always continually look at, and what Scott talked about was on the website, it will link to an RFU offers page where we are starting to get some offers in, but not directly on kit, but something for us to consider. So not a perfect answer here, but it's something that we will consider where we go. Paul, you've asked, would you assist in claiming back climate change levies and wastewater rebates? Scott, I'll come to you on the wastewater rebates, but I know on the climate change, Paul, it's an area which is an interesting one, because our understanding is, and we've had this from sort of our guidance from some of our specialists, is that only charities under very, very certain circumstances can get this sort of climate change levy refunds, and they're really, really complex. It's almost impossible to do. Now, you might be approached by brokers who will suggest to you they can do that. They might say, oh, all amateur sports clubs can do it. That is not the case. There's also an element to do with VAT as well, and we have had clubs contact us about that. So climate change levies, Paul, when I drop the email out, if you want to come back to me on that, please do send an email back, and I can take that sort of offline, as it were, but just want to be mindful of. Scott, I don't know if there's anything on wastewater rebates. That's not an area I know much about, so I don't know if that's something you know.
Well, yeah, it's something that we've helped with in the past, certainly on golf courses in terms of the irrigation and also the wastewater. So the beauty about the kind of collaboration in this service is we have an expert in this area in energy. So he would look at this, he would scrutinise your bill, and he would advise you on the next steps, really. I don't have the expertise, but someone within our team would certainly look at that for you. And if they couldn't help, they would certainly point you in the right direction where you would need to get some specific help.
And that is the beauty of this service as well, is that we do have some additional expertise here that we've not had access to before. So I think that's a really important point that Scott stresses. As you know, we've got the facilities team and myself, but this is not necessarily our area where we're specialists in. So, you know, talking to Golf Management Group or Rugby Buying, RFU Buying Group, as we will now be called, will be an advantage to you to sort of ask those questions. Bruce has asked, can multiple people at the club be registered so we all receive comms? How does that operate, Scott?
Yes. I mean, the initial registration process just asks for one contact. But if you wanted to update that and send us the contact details of numerous officers at the club, then we're happy to do that. I do believe contract manager, you can have a number of different people notified within one subscription. So yes, we could accommodate that, yes.
Good. David, do GMG get involved with equipment and kit, things like scrum machines, tackle bags, etc.? The immediate answer is no. There are some sort of support deals through some of the commercial partners on that, David. It's an area where, you know, we would look at predominantly this is on off-field support, but we are very, very conscious. I'm involved in my local club. I know how much these things cost and so on, and whether or not we can look at that. It's something for us a little bit further down the line, but basically at this point in time, David, it's no. However, there will be a link on the site when you see it, which is to Rugby Services, and anything we can sort of help promote what we might have broader, so you can find them all in one place. We will link to that. So nothing at the moment, but we'll come back to that. Scott, I don't think there's anything you want to add on that. I'm not sure you can.
No, it's one of those. I mean, we hope this evolves. I mean, you guys obviously providing a lot of support in specific areas, but you know, if there's a requirement, it seems that there's quite a few generic products really that all clubs will use, that all clubs will need. I don't know what the arrangements are with the service providers or the manufacturers at the moment, but I'm sure, you know, we're building a community here really. So if 500 rugby clubs said, listen, Scott, we need a new scrum machine, I'm sure we could use that to you know, to negotiate a competitive deal. Maybe it's already in place, I don't quite know, but it's not something that would be against. We'll look at providing benefits across the board really.
Brilliant. There's a question, but from two different people. It's the same sort of question. I'll just read them out. So one from Tim saying, we're part of a multi-sport club that runs our clubhouse and incurs the costs applicable to your scheme. Yeah. Any issues with that club participating? And Paul has said a similar thing. We're a multi-sports club. Will this benefit the whole club? So we do have a number of those, Scott. So how would that operate? Because obviously it's the rugby club who are part of it, but they often sit as, you know, part of a broader group.
Yeah, the management of the facility would access the RFU affiliated clubs membership, if you like. I mean, there's no kind of membership forms here. We just take a note, we take details of the clubs that are participating, and if there's a venue attached to that, then the whole of that venue can benefit, because you know, the more revenue we can generate, the more savings we can generate, the more revenue we'll generate, And then the more, obviously, budget expense goes through the group, which will help us further down the line in other areas. So we'll be very happy for the other sports within the facility to benefit from the RFU affiliation.
Brilliant, thanks. Chris Packer, a really interesting question. Where does this sit with the RFU Energy Basket? So, Chris, you'll be aware of the Energy Basket, which was done through a broker, ZTP. ZTP are that if you were part of that Energy Basket, that those contracts are still in place. But ZTP have moved on now, and the reason why they've moved on is you'll be aware that we have a commercial partner in Positive Energy who offer their deals, but also this is sort of supplementary to that, as well as what Scott has alluded to. So basically you have two options really through ourselves. So to all intents and purposes, this is the buying group Energy Basket across multiple sports that you'll be accessing to, or you can choose to contact Positive Energy and go to them direct and see what deal they can do. So going back, hopefully that answers the question. But if you're currently in the Energy Basket, that will run until the end of your existing contract, and then you can start to look around. My advice is shop around, guys, and as Scott has alluded to, and it's clearly the principle here, the larger the basket, the more sort of preferable terms you will often benefit from. Katrina, really interesting question from Katrina. Curious to understand how you source your suppliers, Scott, and whether the small fish suppliers are invited where possible. It's nice to support the smaller businesses rather than just the big players. I think that's obviously there's a sustainability piece in and around sort of local suppliers. So Scott, I don't know if any comment on that one.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would, I'd really advocate that. It depends on the requirements for the club. I'll be perfectly honest, difficult for us to be involved with the smaller regional suppliers because they're only supplying a small number of the membership. So have we got the leverage then to negotiate some significant benefits in terms of savings for the clubs? So I think that would be one for individual clubs to look at, individual suppliers, and decide which is the most important criteria to them. Is it the cost savings? Is it the carbon footprint? Is it the provenance? Or is it supporting local community businesses? It just, at this stage, really, it probably doesn't fit with the model that we're working through, which is probably not really what you want to hear, but just being totally honest with kind of how we operate at this stage.
Yeah, it's always a challenge for us, Katrina, in terms of what we do and how we do it, and more often than not, the sort of the economy is the key point here. But I think as Scott's alluded to, if it's possible, then yes. Barry, you mentioned we're a ZTP in this. I think I've expanded on that one, so I hopefully that's answered that question for you already. Chris has Chris has said, keen to know how, as a small club, we would gain benefits. When they looked at the RFU facility offers, we found we would need to have a large turnover to be able to justify initial costs. For example, EPOS till systems. So I suppose that the question here is Scott, if it's a small club and we have lots of small clubs, would they still be able to gain the benefit?
I think this service is probably more beneficial to the smaller clubs, because although financially, monetary terms, it won't be as big a saving, but to manage that supply chain, to get the best deal, and percentage-wise, it'll be really significant. To save a smaller club £1,000, £2,000 on their energy supply or their refuse collection or whatever it is, I think can have a bigger impact. Our ethos really is that, and it doesn't always work, but we try to operate to it. Despite the size of the club, everybody pays the same fees. So, I mean, for example, the online marketplace, when hopefully we get to launch the online food shop. So, McCain's oven chips will be the same price for Wasps as they will be for the small local community hub rugby club. And that's because effectively it's just another purchase on this whole basket. So, yeah, I'm really confident that we'll provide a good benefit for the smaller clubs as well as the bigger clubs.
Thanks, Scott. Freudian slip there in Wasp the amateur team. Neil's asked, any links to companies providing scoping advice on installation of renewable energy, solar and boreholes? Scott, I think there's something on the sort of solar and energy. Do you want to just touch on that?
Yeah, absolutely. We can assist with that. We partner a company called Project Better Energy that have got a number of different sustainable products and initiatives. So from, you know, EV charging to solar, to battery storage, to a number of different areas. So what we would advise probably in that scenario is a consultation, you know, just a quick 10-minute call with James, who heads up the Energy Club, James Heald. He'll establish exactly what your interests are, what your requirements are. He'll look at your current consumption, and then he'll provide you some advice. You know, ideally, we'll provide the advice and provide the solution. But, you know, if we can't provide the solution, if we can provide the advice and you find the solution, then we're still kind of doing our job. We're building the goodwill, and hopefully then you'll utilise the service for a different category of expenditure.
Thanks, Scott. Next question from Neil. If a club finds a cheaper offer, are they obliged to renew, for example, utilities via this service?
No.
Once you've signed the letter of authority.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. However, there's a little bit of goodwill involved here. So what can happen in instances, we'll undertake the benchmarking exercise. Well, same for the club. This made you. It only happened last week with the tennis club, made a fantastic saving. The camera said, thank you very much. The existing supplier has matched that saving, so we're going to stick with those guys. So that's disappointing because it's a little bit short term, you know, but however, we're confident of our price files. But if we send you a proposal and you don't disclose that proposal and you get a better proposal, then by all means, you know, access that deal. Let us know who the supplier is, then perhaps we'll negotiate with them further down the line and bring them into the supply chain.
Okay. A question from Barry, which I'll take this one, Scott. Confusing answer to ZTP. Barry, apologies. The RFU should give his direction. ZTP was sold as an energy buying group. That is correct, Barry. They were. However, they have now departed from our connection with us. And basically, in simple terms, the RFU buying group option is now the replacement for that. But you also have, as I just alluded to, we do have the commercial partner, Positive Energy, who you can also contact as well. Now, they are an energy supplier, so you can contact them, or you can go through this route and explore the opportunity there. What I would say is ZTP, in terms of trying to expand that basket and make it as large as they can, they only got to around sort of 60, 70 clubs in the end. Already, Scott's alluded to the size of the basket that they have already through golf and tennis. So, Barry, hopefully that's confusing, but ZTP took a commercial decision. It just wasn't worth their while, they said, for the number of clubs that were having it. So they've exited, and now the options will now be through the RFU buying group, or whether you want to choose and contact Positive Energy. Both details I'll be on the website. Richard's asked, the biggest burden on clubs is administration. Will your service reduce that?
Well, I mean, contracts manager, I'm sure, will reduce a significant amount. I mean, it's an electric filing cabinet. Clubs can store invoices and contracts on there, so you can access lots of information in terms of supplier details, contact details, contract end dates. It'll help you renew contracts as well, because it will remind you of renewal dates. And as far as, I mean, I think sort of, you know, the best practice in terms of procurement, instead of having to obtain 3 quotes in certain cost centres, if you come through the buying group, that should satisfy those requirements. So that's hopefully how we will help in that sense.
Okay. And then the final one, Barry, just touching back on that ZTP again. ZTP should have contacted you, Barry. If they didn't, then when I send my email, come back to me and I'll pick that up offline, but they should have let you know. As I say, the contract is still in place. And basically, when you come for renewal, they'll let you know, they'll give you plenty of time. And then it's at that point, then you can consider which options you have, which would have been the case regardless. But they should have let you know that, Barry. Apologise, that's not happened if that's the case. Yeah, Barry, I'll pick up with you on that one. And we can talk offline. I'm just making a note of your number. Okay. I think That was the last one. Scott, just a quick one. In terms of, I had a question beforehand. The cost, can you manage, there's no costs associated with this at all?
No, absolutely not. No, I mean, generally we charge £149 a year for our services, and we guarantee if we don't save you 3 times that, we'll refund. However, thanks to our collaboration with the RFU, all our services are provided totally complimentary. So whether that be accessing the price files or using Contracts Manager, those services remain free of charge while we have a contract in place with the RFU. You know, there's no obligation to use our services, no costs. There's really no barriers, you know. So if you provide us with the information and the data, we'll report back the saving, and we will realise that saving by helping you migrate to that supplier. So it's a win-win, really.
Wonderful. And then the final question is, if somebody actually wants to contact you, I believe they can do that either via email, and that email address will be given, and also telephone number, and speak to somebody in the UK. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. We're hello@rfubuyinggroup.co.uk. The email address is live. The phone number and the website will be live in the next few days. I think the kind of trigger will be the email from the RFU to say, great news, website's live, jump online, and it'll just kind of reiterate a couple of the points that we've talked about today. But if anybody wants to speak to me or email, then, you know, we can give you my contact details, no problem at all.
Lovely, thank you. Well, I think that's it in terms of questions. So all that remains is, and Barry, I'll pick up with you. I'll give you a call in about sort of 10 minutes, Barry, if that's okay. Just give me a thumbs up, Barry, if that's all right with you. And I can pick that up offline, get that over and done with quickly, so you're not hanging around. But if not, Scott, thank you so much for tonight.
Thank you.
People who joined us, really, really thank you for your time. As we mentioned, we will share the recording, we'll share the slides and further information for you. And we hope that this is something that you can take further and explore and take advantage of. Really, that's the key thing, is that these challenging times, this service is there to try and help reduce some of the costs that you've got, which have been increasing over a number of years. So have a good evening, everybody. Take care. All the best.